Good morning and welcome to the pre-agenda interviews for Wednesday, October 12th, 2022. We have 4 appointments today to the Housing Opportunity Fund Advisory Board for consideration. Is there anything you need to read, Madam Clerk?
Bill number 773, resolution appointing Alan Cisco to serve as a member of the Housing Opportunity Fund Advisory Board for a term to expire April 30th, 2026. Bill number 774, resolution appointing Astor T. Clay to serve as a member of the Housing Opportunity Fund Advisory Board for a term to expire April 30th, 2026. Bill number 776, resolution appointing Deidre Washington to serve as a member of the Housing Opportunity Fund Advisory Board for a term to expire April 30th, 2026. And Bill number 777, resolution appointing Morgan Overton to serve as a member of the Housing Opportunity Fund Advisory Board for a term to expire April 30th, 2026.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And what I'm going to do is, Al, for you going down the line, an opportunity to say a little bit about yourself, what you think you'll be able to bring to the advisory board. Sure. And we'll start with
you. Want to start with me? Yeah, sure. So, good morning, Council.
And excuse me, we are also joined by Councilman Wilson. Thank you, Councilman. Okay, I'm sorry.
Good morning, Councilman, Councilwoman. I'm Alan Cisco. I am a resident of South Oakland and a longtime leader of an organization called Rebuilding Together Pittsburgh. We do home repairs for lower income homeowners. We help keep Pittsburghers and residents all over Allegheny County safe and healthy in their homes. We focus in our programming on the concept of healthy housing, which is the idea that the environment that you live in, your home environment, has a dramatic effect on your health and can be both positive and negative. I've been a part of Rebuilding Together, both nationally in Pittsburgh for 15 years, and we make repairs that make homes healthier. So we do things like roofing, windows, grab bars, handrails, flooring, things that make the home free from moisture, things that make the home more accessible and free from the risk of falls for our low-income seniors, and things that make the home more secure. I am excited to be considered for this board because the Housing Opportunity Fund is an important partner in our work at Rebuilding Together Pittsburgh. We are both an administrator for some of the HAP programming, so the programming focused on owner-occupied projects. And we also work with URA staff on the HAPPY program, which is the program for accessibility, and being in that universe and sharing challenges and opportunities with the folks who run those programs, I think puts me in a good position to help advise and support the success of those programs.
Thank you. And you reside where?
South Oakland.
I just want to make sure when you go down the road so people know when you go down the line. Next. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Aster Teklai. I'm a resident of the East Liberty neighborhood. I have over a decade of affordable housing experience, and including public housing and low-income housing tax credit development. I'm currently with the Urban Redevelopment Authority in their Development Services Department as a manager of community development and strategy. So I have a very keen understanding of development of affordable housing, the struggles that the city is particularly facing in the lack of affordable housing that is available, but understanding the need for home ownership, the clientele, the topography and the issues that we have from our natural environment. I think I bring a holistic view of the HOF to bring to the HOF Advisory Board. Actually, when the HOF Advisory Board was being developed, I worked to develop the original guidelines. So I have a keen understanding of the intention of this advisory board. And I think I bring expertise and also lived experience of being a practitioner in the field. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good morning. My name is Deidre Washington. I have a company, a small business. It's called I Dream a World. And what I do is personal growth and professional development training for individuals throughout the city to help them not only get housing and employment, but to remain housed and to remain employed successfully. I have over 20 years experience in low-income housing, affordable housing, and as a what I will bring to the table to the HOF is my lived experience. When I bought my first house in the 90s, I used the URA funds to fix up my house, the HRP loan, which helped me, fix my house up, and I'm still in that house. And so what I would bring to the table is helping connect individuals who don't feel that they are connected to opportunities like this. I think one of the reasons why a lot of people don't take advantage of it is because they don't feel that they belong or that that they are capable of or would even be considered for opportunities like this. So I think my strength in this opportunity is to connect people, and my gift is reaching people and helping them understand that they can use this and how it can benefit them and the community at large.
I apologize. Did you mention where you live?
Sorry?
What neighborhood do you live in?
Oh, I'm sorry. I live in the Hill District.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And Morgan.
Good morning, Council President, Councilman Wilson. My name is Morgan Overton. I'm a fifth generation Pittsburgher. I have Hill District roots, but I'm currently a resident of Shadyside. I'm proud to serve in Mayor Gainey's administration, where I aid our Chief Economic Development Officer and our Chief Operating Officer, but I'll soon be transitioning to become our Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Manager. So say that 5 times fast. But my scope of work is primarily concerned with equity at large, you name it. I also serve on our City of Pittsburgh Gender Equity Commission, where I recently served as acting chair. And as we all know in this room, when the Gender Equity Commission released its report in 2019, housing emerged as a public health issue, intersecting with income, access, health at large. And so with that being said, Mayor Gainey has made housing a priority in his administration in order to make this the most safe, welcoming, and thriving city in America. And we really have leaned on our Equitable Development Committee and our transition team, who were comprised of housing activists and advocates who help us reimagine what housing justice looks like. And we already know that we're in an affordable housing crisis with rising costs and threats of displacement. So to everyone's point here, we're really focused on amplifying those with lived experience because they have expertise about what we can bring to the table to make Pittsburgh live up to its potential. So that's where I see myself as a connector. As someone who really believes in storytelling, lifting up those people who aren't at the table and who don't have the light typically. In Mayor Gainey's office, I'm staffing something called a Black Women's Quality of Life initiative, where we are taking a policy and implementation approach to issues concerning equity, and of course, housing is one of them. So we have over 50 Black women who make up a variety of socioeconomic statuses, backgrounds, to help us think through how do we get housing policy through implementation. And again, as a member of this board, I am really committed to making this work accessible, of taking government and authorities to the people. And I think that this is a wonderful commitment made of, $10 million per year. I think we can really set the precedent for what it looks like when we prioritize people. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. And so here's how it goes. Council members may come in as we're doing the interviews. You wait till a council member addresses you, and then you answer. If they don't address you and you want to clarify something, I try to give you a chance at the end, but don't talk over the council member or interrupt the council member, which I know you probably know all that, but so the public knows that's the routine here. And I'll start with Councilman Wilson.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate taking the time and your willingness to serve. I just had a couple questions just about really what the role is and just how you see it. Do you, how do you currently see the Housing Opportunity Fund, and how how do you see it being more successful to reach people with where they're at. So, for instance, like if we think about affordable housing, and I think I've had the pleasure of working with some of you in the past in terms of this capacity. The Housing Opportunity Fund takes a certain approach, and they are serving, people that are in need of housing at certain different area median income rates and a certain percents of what the local AMI is, and just kind of curious on where you think it is and where it could go. I know there's a discussion or I think it's in the budget where there's an increased amount of funding that would be allocated to it. Just kind of curious on that whole conversation of where it is and where you could see where it could go. If anyone wants to take a...
I can start. Just on a very basic note, I think just in general, this might be a Pittsburgh thing that we need to do a little bit better about resource sharing. A lot of people may not know that this exists, right? And so they may think, okay, affordable housing, that's such a big umbrella, but what does that entail? When, we're considering repairs to homes, right? Rental assistance. I think we have an opportunity here to really bring the menu list of things, especially given the pandemic, the impact of COVID on housing. This is our window of opportunity to really expand reimagining housing justice, and that it's not just a Band-Aid approach in the moment, but really sustaining someone to take advantage of Pittsburgh's assets and that they are an asset in the community, because your housing impacts your self-worth, right? Your how you envision yourself in your community. So when we talk about thriving, it's not just, a Hallmark card. It's really about how we can help our community sustain itself. So I really just see it expanding with all of our individual networks, who we all know, right? I think it can be beyond this table, but really the community at large.
From my experience, I realized that you can't solve the housing problem by building more houses, and you can't solve money problems by just adding more money. I think we need to take a more holistic approach and, help people understand how they, not just how they spend money, but why they spend money. There is a underlying source of why people spend, their money for rent on buying Christmas items. I've come to learn that that's more of a self-esteem issue. I won't look bad. I will look bad if I don't buy my children something for Christmas, and people can see that. So I will take that chance on not paying my rent and hopefully catching up in a few months. And so there are deeper issues of why people spend their money, the money they do, or why they lack the money, or not lack the money, but lack the financial resources. And I realized that the AMI for our area is the cutoff point. There's a whole swath of people right in the middle who make $15 more than what the income that is allowed for them to be able to get the resources. So there's, a whole middle section of like 40% of our population that don't qualify but need the services. So maybe even increasing the amount that that the person can make in order to qualify would help a lot, because it's a lot of working class people who don't qualify but definitely need the services.
When I think of HOF, I really think about the opportunity and what does that look like. It's not a one-step, one Band-Aid approach to all. Depending on your community, depending on the intergenerational dynamics of your home, the structures that we have in place don't necessarily address those issues. So the HOF, Housing Opportunity Fund, provides an opportunity to really address those gaps in resources, and I believe that that's the intention of this advisory committee and also the intention of that fund. Seeing where there are gaps in resources and gaps in who we're serving and how do we disrupt that to service those folks. Deirdre made a great point that there are folks who are not being serviced because they either make too much or not enough. And how do we address that? How do we ensure that every Pittsburgher has the opportunity to live, work, play, and worship in the communities that they choose? And I believe that that's the role of this advisory committee.
Everybody here has great points. The thing I'll add is sort of from a practitioner standpoint. I think the Opportunity Fund is a huge opportunity because of how it is funded, right? It's local money. And so it really gives Pittsburgh the opportunity to develop how what are the rules going to be for that local money. And so I think one of the things that, if given the opportunity to talk, to serve on this board and to support the work of the staff who are delivering on the Opportunity Fund every day, I would be asking them to think about, are we being as creative as we could be, considering the opportunity with local rules? Are we reducing barriers to funding and to services as much as possible, considering the nature of the funds? So I think I think the Opportunity Fund has been successful in many ways, and I think I would be looking to work with the experts on deploying the money to continue to reduce barriers to service and think about ways we could use this money creatively to fill gaps that are created by more restricted funds like federal money and things like that. So housing is a very sort of restriction-heavy activity when it comes to the types of financing that's available, and thinking about our local money as maybe a catalyst to help make those more restricted monies more effective is something I'm really interested in.
Thank you for all your answers. I don't have any further questions.
Is it? Thank you, Councilman. And we're also joined by Councilwoman Gross. Councilwoman? I'm sorry. I almost said something else. Go ahead.
Thank you all. And I was able to hear your introductions a little bit while I was on Zoom, and so I'm happy to be here and see you all in person. Welcome. First of all, thank you for your willingness to serve the people of Pittsburgh and to work on this really important equity issue that we've been struggling with as a council now and trying to put many pieces in place, which is to increase the amount of affordable housing. If you'll indulge me just a minute, I just want to reflect sitting here. I've been sitting in this chair for 8.5 years, and I remember being surprised when Councilman Lavelle first proposed the Affordable Housing Task Force, because I had only recently been knocking and canvassing on lots of doors several times, and it wasn't something that I was hearing in my district. Well, that turned the corner really, really quickly. Right, and it seemed like every meeting we have is about affordable housing. And we were talking about it in Lawrenceville, now we're talking about it in Bloomfield and Polish Hill, basically every part of my district. I know we have a choice neighborhood program starting an application in Councilman Wilson's district. Councilman Coghill was just elected 4 or 5 years ago and said that it wasn't something that he needed to talk about in his district. And Councilwoman Rudiak before him said that wasn't an issue because all of the housing was affordable. That is not what we're hearing out of District 4 now. So I just wanted to reflect on how what 8 years ago maybe seemed a problem for a handful of neighborhoods is now something that we're hearing about from almost every neighborhood in the city. And that's a much different policy challenge. And so I've given a little speech before, which is that we have neighborhoods in the city, and much of our policy work and much of our state programs and much of the programs that you all have been referring to this morning are targeted at neighborhoods that have been disinvested, that have been blighted, abandoned, right, that need to be rebuilt. I always like to throw in infrastructure, underground infrastructure, because we know we need the underground infrastructure to be rebuilt before we can rebuild a neighborhood for the next 100 years. But but that we also now have in the city the opposite markets that are hyper invested, neighborhoods that are gentrifying and displacing people, and that we have so much price pressure. It's just, we've never seen it in Pittsburgh like this, right? Imagine your street in 5 years increasing housing values and rents tenfold. It's really hard for a lot of the city to imagine that, but that's happening. That's happened already in Pittsburgh. So we kind of need two sets of policies. And I think of these both ends as market excess, and that it's our rightful role as local government to kind of moderate both ends of where the market's broken in a way, right? And for a long, long time, we've only been thinking about the market being broken with underinvestment and blight and abandonment. But it's in my mind, it's also broken when we have hyperinvest. It's not serving our citizens. Mm-hmm. It's not serving our long-term city health. So I wanted to take the opportunity. So thank you for listening. But I'm really, really happy to see your background and resumes. And so I didn't hear, I don't think, I was kind of in and out on Zoom a little bit. I really didn't hear a question of kind of thinking about how each of your resumes, like what is it in your backgrounds that kind of fits particularly for the work of the Housing Opportunity Fund. So,
and can I just remind everyone, our regular standing committees meeting starts in 15 minutes. So if you get to
if
your
you
point,
could answer in just two minutes or so, that would be helpful. I appreciate it.
Councilwoman, thank you for the question. I'll start and be very brief. So I think my background is very, very committed to owner-occupied housing and repairing and renovating of existing homes for lower income folks. So preserving that sort of magical thing that happens in Pittsburgh where you can be both a longtime homeowner and a lower income person. And that has been an amazing opportunity for me and my family, as many others. And so my resume and my work at Rebuilding Together, both in Pittsburgh and around the country, I think positions me to be an expert and assist the practitioners at the URA that work on this fund in developing that side of the program. And so I think that is probably my most valuable experience that connects to programming at HOF right now.
Mr. Sisko, I'll just add that I've been a big fan of the work that Rebuilding Together has done, and I've mentioned before that I hope that we work together as a city on exactly that mission, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Again, my name is Oster Teklai. I'm from the East Liberty neighborhood. I am an affordable housing practitioner. I have over a decade of experience both through the Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh, implementing programs and policies and writing policy, particularly our Moving to Work program here at the city level, but also liaisoning with the local field office and HUD Maine and DC. I'm now with the Urban Redevelopment Authority as a community development manager in our development service department, so I'm very well versed in the technical and nuanced activities of housing and how that intersects from a financial standpoint, but also as on the frontline practitioner and understanding the heart work of it, and understanding how all the different systems play into housing, whether it's transit or the accessibility of jobs that are nearby, daycare, childcare, all of those things, all the intersectionalities. So I think I bring kind of the best of both worlds as part of my background.
Thank you. I concur. We need kind of all of those household cost pressures, right? We can pay attention to. We've had discussions here at the table before that sometimes childcare or transportation and food is right up there as almost as big as a household cost burden as the housing in one of our households that are struggling. So I appreciate that perspective. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Deidre Washington. I have a diverse background. I worked at the Housing Authority, City of Pittsburgh for over 10 years. And now with my company, I Dream a World, I provide training throughout the city of Pittsburgh. So I'm in contact with diverse populations, whether it's unhoused veterans, young mothers. I provide classes for UPMC, the Builders Guild of Western Pennsylvania, Temple University, Harrisburg, all over the city. Orco Housing, I provide services for their residents. So I'm in the community a lot, in different communities a lot. So I hear firsthand what the needs are and what the people are saying, what is missing and why they are not connected. Sometimes I think we take for granted and we say we'll build it or we'll do it and they will come. I see a lot of people throw programs together and say, well, this is what they need and they will come and get it, and that's not what the people really need. So I think I have a good sense of what people need and how to communicate with them to help them know what they need, express what they need, because I think sometimes it's misinterpreted, or we just think, well, they need childcare or they need money, but there's other things that they need first to even be able to know what they need. To express what they need. So I think I would bring my gift of connecting people and being able to relate and communicate with a diverse population of people. And I do see, as a real estate agent, I don't practice too much anymore, but not even just with affordable housing in the rental market, but also in the housing. I have people in my family, young people who want to buy their first home, and it's over $200,000 for like a 2-3 bedroom, and they're like, well, I can't afford to even buy a small little house in my community. So
Across the city.
Yes, across the city.
We're really trying to track it. Now with the apps, you can kind of scroll across the whole city, and it's really amazing how quickly we've seen prices. Like, again, as I was saying, kind of spread. Used to just be a handful of neighborhoods, and now it's really hard to find anything.
It is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Overton,
Good morning.
good to see you.
Morgan Overton. My background, I think, really captures intersectionality at large, because it's not just housing over here. I think it is indicative of all of the culmination of all the social factors that others have discussed. And my background is very rooted in gender equity. So I've been trained as a social worker. I have my degree in a master's in social work with a focus in community organizing. So in the midst of my training, I was a fellow in then State Representative Jake Wheatley's office. And, we would have people come in, especially seniors, who saw his office as the last resort because their housing was not safe for them to sleep at night, right? And not even just thinking about violence, but leakage, right? Water. So, I approach everything from an intersectional lens. Before this hat in the mayor's office, I worked in maternal health, which is another huge issue that is impacted because of housing, right? So we think about social determinants of health not just as a phrase, but how is Pittsburgh perpetuating these inequities, especially with a gendered lens? So I'm not just thinking about one particular group. It's our community with disabilities, it's our pregnant community, it's our seniors, it's our millennials, right? I sure as heck haven't even thought about buying a house. I lived in Boston for 2 years, and I saw the prices there, and now I'm back in Pittsburgh. I'm like, it's not too much different. So how can we be a livable city in actuality and in practice and with authenticity, and make sure that the people with lived experience are at the table of solutions? So that's what I am excited to bring to the table.
Thank you, Ms. Overton. It's great to have you here as well. Again, I really want to thank everyone for being willing to spend your kind of volunteer time and effort, and I want the public to acknowledge that these are private citizens who are lending their time and their energy and their care to this issue, and so we appreciate that, and we really we benefit from having our citizens participate in government with us. So I think that's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And for me, I'll let you have a few minutes before I wrap up here, I just want to say that one of the things I think that we should start looking at is we're doing a lot in terms of social services, which is not really a core function of the city government. And I really would like to see all these different efforts for housing to have more of a housing collaborative and where everyone's working together. Because some of the things I see and we all see in our side of the hall is that when people actually need help, when they're getting sent to the magistrate and they need help to fix up their home, there's nobody there to say, hey, these are the programs in the city of Pittsburgh, or these are the programs you're eligible because you're a resident of Allegheny County. I would love to have us do more of collaborative work, or even somebody with social services in terms of mental health issues and making sure people are getting the help that they need when they go, because sometimes it might be a hoarding issue or other things that are occurring in the homes. But I feel like there's all these efforts all across the city. There's a gazillion, which makes it difficult to track the funding and makes it difficult to track the progress. And data says, whatever you want it to say a lot of times. So for me, I'd like to see us come together more with all the different programs that are quality of life issues in general. Because you can build a home, but if you can't build a community because the community around them is falling apart, the home is really not that valuable either. Just like now we're talking about this whole issue between parks and people having ball fields and how one area needs it because this other area takes the ball field all the time and they have the money. Well, okay, they built the ball field. So let's build good ball fields in every neighborhood or every sector of the city. So it's not a question of what neighborhood you live in. It's that we're giving quality services to our residents. And if we focus more on the things we're supposed to be focusing on, like infrastructure, like plowing snow, like removing trash, cutting trees, cutting weeds, and we work with the people who are responsible for social services a little bit better, then I think we can focus our dollars on where we should be and helping to change some of those quality of life issues for the residents. I mean, it's so daunting when year after year, people are complaining about the same house, the same property, the same trees, the same year after year. And those are the things we should be taking care of. So I would like to see us do more, and I hope that going forward, Mayor Gainey would more to get people together in a team to do whatever they have to do. And I'm glad you mentioned about millennials and student debt, because my kids were the same way. I mean, it's shocking, what they're going through, and I think it's I think there should be help, and there is help, but I don't necessarily always think that it's taking things away from people and taking stress. Sometimes kids have to grow and learn, and some of the stress is part of it. But their numbers is just so much higher than they were, perhaps when they were younger. And I'll just give you a chance to say. Well, I'd really like to also talk about how you're working with and how the board. I served on this board, so I'm going to say it's difficult. And I want to thank you for all the work you've done in my district. Rebuilding Together Pittsburgh's helped a lot of people stay in homes. While other organizations came in and took money and didn't do a thing. So I can just thank you for the work that you've done. But I'm going to give you a chance to say a few closing comments for each of you, but I hope that part of the tiny homes or opening a hotel or something to address the homelessness, not just we have to keep people in their homes, but we also have to get people into homes. And so I just think that these efforts, working together as a collaborative, are what we really need in the city, and make it less daunting for people that actually need help. So I'll let you, any closing comments down the line?
Thank you, Councilwoman. Just picking up on what you're saying, I think that one of the things that we've done at Rebuilding Together Pittsburgh is use the time that we have engaging with a homeowner who's applied for service and we're fixing their house. We've used that time and that relationship that builds with that person during that process, because I don't know if you've ever had any work done on a home you own. It's not quick. It's not always easy.
I've been working on my home since I moved into it,
right?
Almost 40 years
ago. So you build a real, genuine relationship with the person. And we try to leverage that and get them connected to services so that they can make sure they have a will, so that the house goes where they want it to make sure that they have access. During the pandemic, we helped the food bank with food. Like we try to leverage that relationship to, a little bit outside of the housing space and to other housing resources. And the thing that I will say, and I think like goes back to my point about thinking about the opportunity of local housing dollars, is that we could be doing more of that. We could be doing more, but what it takes is an understanding that the person that is receiving the service or receiving the benefit is a person first. And you have to devote the time and the energy to getting to know them and engaging with them as a human, as a unique situation, because houses and people are all special flowers, and we have to engage with them individually to actually provide good service. They can't be a number, and they can't be a name on a list. They have to be individuals.
Thank you. Just in closing, I just want to highlight that our most vulnerable populations typically are previews of what's going to impact the larger population. So when you think about folks that are experiencing who are underhoused or underemployed, those are typically indicators of what's going to happen to the other parts of the population. So looking at the full spectrum of the people that we serve and how do we do that simultaneously, I think that's what this committee is for. Looking at people as people and understanding that there's a multitude of reasons why a person is in a situation, and understanding that not everyone wants to own a home. And not everyone wants to necessarily want a house with a yard, or some folks just want to age in place. And understanding that that's okay, and that we can figure out a way for that to work. And understanding that these dollars are very, very unique, and that they don't have those type of restrictions, maybe a prevailing wage or some type of reporting requirement for decades. And how are we taking those dollars and being as smart as we can be, and understanding and communicating to the folks that we're serving that because we're helping this population, another population isn't losing, that we are actually helping the entire community together, and making sure that people understand that. So I'm excited to have that opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. One of the organizations that I work with, that I provide training for, is a social service organization. It's called the Family Strength-Based Approach, helping families and recognizing them as individuals and not as a case or a number. And throughout the time that I worked there, I found that Allegheny County is one of the richest counties in the world for receiving resources. And it's hard to see it because we see so much going on in our county. But I realized that it's because, as you said, we operate in silos. I work for different organizations or volunteer, and I do work with the food bank. And, someone will go through one program and get that need serviced, and then 6 months later, they're back for housing, for, money for housing. So instead of us working together, we solve one problem at a time, and then 7-8 months later, the same exact family is back with another issue. And I think one of the things that the HOF can do is be like a clearinghouse for all the organizations, and providing some sort of oversight, I don't want to say oversight, but something that will help connect, like taking a needs assessment at the very beginning. Because generally, if a person, what I've found in my experience, if they have housing issues, it's other issues. That's just the tip of the iceberg. And that's what we're solving here. We're just looking at the tip of the iceberg, when we know that it's 70% of the iceberg is what we don't see, and that's what sinks the ship. So I think if we start working more collectively and looking at the whole picture and not just what we see, we will be more, we will, I don't want to say chip, more off the ice, but basically that's, looking at the whole issue and not just what we see, and using the resources collectively instead of individually.
Thank you.
I'll be very brief. Growing up in this town, especially as a working class Pittsburgher, this work is not just something to go on my resume. This is deeply personal. And again, to not just, sound like a broken record, I really do believe in this opportunity to have this city live up to its potential. And because we're in a housing crisis, we are losing our people. They're leaving Pittsburgh, which means we're losing our assets, which means we're losing who makes Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh. And I'm committed to making this, again, not just a Band-Aid approach, but how can this be sustainable and preventative at the end of the day so that we're not reactive whenever things fall through the cracks, right? And I'll end with one of my favorite Gaineyisms is that he says, we don't want just microwave meals, we believe in grandma's recipes. So we want everyone well fed here in Pittsburgh. So I'm really excited about what's ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. And anything, closing things, comments or questions from the members? I'll just say that I think that we do operate in silos, as I mentioned earlier, but I think what we ought to be doing is talking with the mayor and with our county exec and our state elected officials and federal on all levels about how we can work together and put some of these efforts into one collaborative effort, because it make it simplified for the residents to actually use and to access. So thank you all very much for your willingness to serve. It is not an easy one. I have served on it, and you just want to help everyone. Everyone who comes with a story is so difficult and so painful. Not so much the developers. When they come in, I'm like, but for the other people, for the residents that actually need help, I mean, it's really, it's heart-wrenching. So thank you for your willingness to serve. With that said, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
No. Oh, sorry. Good morning and welcome to the Standing Committee's meeting for Wednesday, October 12, 2022. All of Council's meetings will continue to be live streamed on the city's website. Our first order of business is roll call. Would the clerk please take the roll?
Reverend Burgess, Mr. Coghill, Ms. Gross,
Here.
Mr. Kraus,
Here.
Mrs. Kell Smith,
Here.
Ms. Strasburger,
Here.
Mr. Wilson,
Here.
Mr. Lavelle, Chair.
Here.
6 members present.
Thank you. Our next order of business is public comment. I would like to remind all speakers that the rules of council state that comments are limited to matters of concern, official action, or deliberation which are or may be before city council, and profanity will not be permitted. After you are called, please restate your name and your neighborhood for the record. Our first speaker is Naomi Mullen.
Good morning. Shady trees, not shady fields in Bon Air. According to the Pennsylvania Constitution, the purpose of government is for the peace, safety, and happiness of the people they serve. The Bon Air Memorial Green Space is the solution for the peace, safety, and happiness of the Bon Air community. If we don't have peace, safety, and happiness, we have no valid governance. This was written about my husband and read at his funeral. Retired Deputy Fire Chief Mike Mullen touched the lives of many people. His uncompromising dedication to his sworn duty to provide for the safety of the citizens of Pittsburgh was truly exceptional and one that should be emulated by every firefighter. He loved sharing his knowledge of firefighting and all its many aspects to make our firefighters safer, smarter, and more efficient on the fire ground. Mike knew most of the firefighters on the entire Pittsburgh Bureau of Fire by their first name and was always approachable, regardless of rank. If you had a question, he would stop what he was doing to answer it. He worked tirelessly, but also energetically his entire career in pursuit of more knowledge. His legacy will serve our citizens and firefighters for years to come. Michael J. Mullen lived a full life as his obituary so accurately described. Mike was passionate, tireless, dedicated, highly conscientious, and caring. Well done, Michael. Well done. Rest in peace, my friend. Another Bon Air resident that was a firefighter was Mark Kalenda. He fell during the line of duty. He was honored with a memorial plaque at the Bon Air School. I guess that's it. I lost my track, so shady trees, not shady fields in Bon Air. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next registered speaker is Dr. Ronald Lynn Miller.
Dr. Ronald Lynn Miller, Beltur, Singapore, the math capital of the world. Those interviews would not pass anything that I know of in Singapore. We are numbers. Numbers matter. And Ms. Gross, you know that matrix mathematics matters in relationship to housing. Extraordinarily absurd to have people who are being interviewed who don't seem to understand anything about statistics. No mention of statistics by anybody who was doing the interviewing. Math matters. I'm a member of the American Mathematical Society. I do have that to push. Look, I am a candidate for the presidency, Global Intelligence Society, U.S. National Candidate. cgsii.rlm.globalintelligence@gmail.com is my primary email. I am an anti-identity politics person. I have no support from any Asian group of any kind whatsoever. I am not connected with. I have no person who's in a direct relationship with me. But I think that we need to focus on the usefulness of the identities of Asians. There were no Asians who were being interviewed for this housing issue. A concern of this council has to do with blackface. You know, what about yellowface? A concern of the City Council of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, USA, is to use equity to upgrade equality on racial ethnic identity axes, downgrading a final descriptive criteria. But under Gainey, Office of Mayor, and Cale Smith, Office of Council, the equity vector to greater equality is absent for U.S. American Pittsburghers of Native American, Latin, Asian, and especially East Asian identity descent. I and the Global Intelligence Society think that equity to equality inclusion should use achievement, especially mathematically grounded achievement and intelligence, over ascription. East Asians worldwide, U.S. nationwide, and Pittsburgh citywide achieve more and better along educational, informational, and intelligence lines. Dr. Tu Youyou, Zhonghua, Chinese biochemist, won the 2015 Medicine Physiology Nobel. She discovered Jinghaosu, which is the malaria cure, in Zhonghua folk medicine. And then there is Dr. Lo Po-Shen. Of course, Ms. Strasburger, you know who he is, right? He is at Carnegie Mellon University. He's a Chinese American born in the United States. No one in the United States, as far as I'm concerned, is better in both math, research, and quadratics, in combinatorics, and he is an outstanding math educator. Dr. Lo invented Novid, a personal COVID radar program. Dr. Lo initiated XPII, an individualized math learning website. Dr. Lo has invested enormous energy in training mathletes. That's what we need in this city. That's what we need from this council. Not the absence of math, but the presence of math. Lo is the national coach of the U.S. International Math Olympiad team that they won 2015, 16, 18, and 19. Why has he not been here? Why has there not been a proclamation, Cale Smith, for him? We have almost everybody else who gets a proclamation. We have somebody who comes in here with 50 years of service. And what happens? What happens? The other people, the people like Dr. Lo, who have contributed and continue to contribute to our city, are not identified by you.
That exhausts our list of registered speakers. If anyone else in chambers today wishing to speak, please come forward. Provide your name and neighborhood for the record. You'll be given 3 minutes.
Oh. Hi, I'm Bernadette from Beachview. 3 minutes doesn't afford me a lot of time. This is something I wanted to bring to your attention, but somebody else brought it to my attention. It takes me back to my daddy, number 2. I was always at his side. You know, Phillips, flathead, hammer, but I learned from him. And I have been noticing prior to the sidewalk being repaired at the senior center, I have pictures where they had a $9.99 L-shaped support bracket because the steel posts are rotting at the base severely. And then today, when we were coming into town, my daughter and I looked and I said, that sidewalk they put in is a lot higher. And lo and behold, there, they raised that sidewalk to hide the rusted steel base. My daddy taught me cement is extremely corrosive. You put steel in there, extremely corrosive. We have a problem, and I Googled it, everywhere, they just topple over. 2013, City Council passed a budget for Garfield. They replaced all the steel posts with, oh gosh, don't feel me now, eyeballs. Anyway, it was like a poly, whatever it was, but it was done in Garfield. It's not going to rust. We need to look at this before one of those come down, and it's really nasty looking. But I wanted to let you know that, and I'm sorry I have to run. I don't like leaving in the middle of a meeting, but Logan has orthodontist stuff. But amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
My name is Yvonne F. Brown. I live at 715 Mercer Street. That's at the top of the hill of Bedford. I first wanted to start off today by saying that I listened to 90.5. There she goes again, Miss Gross. You know what? You think it's me, but she keeps running her mouth when people are talking, and she should be punished. You should find her. Every time she say a word, $5 a word, I bet her mouth will shut up then. I'm tired of it. I'm telling you, you just think it's me, but how come she's so ignorant? This college degree, they say she almost has a master's degree, PhD, that she didn't do her dissertation. Well, there's a problem with her. She can't think, and she don't have any courtesy for people. You're supposed to be a representative for all the people. You're supposed to keep your mouth shut. And look, please forgive me. Lord help me. I wanted to say to the guard that I had told them that the young lady that comes with me, Flora, she's an evangelist. She couldn't come today. She had said, Yvonne, you know you catch flies more with honey than with vinegar. And I had just told them, I'm going to start off today very nice. And I'm talking, and she's steady talking. And you just don't say nothing to her at all. You as the president, you as the host, you're supposed to tell her, please be quiet. You can do that instead of me saying it. Now, okay. I wanted to start off by, I wanted to say 90.5 FM is having a fundraiser. Now, last year I was able to give money. This year I wasn't. But please, if you can, please help them. They get $10,000 if they get so many calls into their office, into the station. I wanted to show you something. I only got a couple of minutes though. This is what I was talking about when I was speaking and I had turned my head. And this is the 5-year-old. Now she's now 8. Now I thought she was 7. She told me yesterday, she said, you know what I want to be, Grandma? When I grow up, I said, what? She said, a judge. I said, wow. She said, because she can make the rules. I said, no. You're supposed to interpret. That means tell the people what the rules are, but you have to study. This baby you just don't understand. I really get upset because our black children are a lot of times, they're not given the benefit that the white children are. And that really hurted me. Years ago, I had said, I didn't think that my black child had to sit next to a white child in order to get an education. But yes, in the Pittsburgh public school system, you do. I'm telling you, I am tired of this racism in this room and colorism. Now, people don't want to talk about colorism. Let me tell you what it is. It's like, I'm very dark. You can see I'm dark. Okay, but you have Tim Stevens come in, a light-complected man, and he can keep talking and talking, but I have to shut up. My time is up. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak before council this morning? Anyone else? Seeing none, that'll move us on to our standing committee's agenda. Our first committee of the day is Finance and Law, which is chaired by myself. We have one new paper, Bill 796.
Bill 796, Resolution amending Resolution 469 of 2020, which authorizes the mayor and the director of finance to enter into a professional services agreement with CHR Catering Company, Inc., for the purposes of providing the city of Pittsburgh with beverage and snack food vending services through vending machines.
Motion to approve, very brief discussion, please.
Second.
Discussion, Councilman Cross?
Yeah, thank you. Is there a dollar amount assigned to this or not? Or is there someone here to speak to that possibly?
We're going to ask our budget director to come to the table, Councilman Cross.
That's fine. Or you know what? I don't want to take up the time. I can speak with him off. Is he here in the room? If not, we can speak offline. I was just curious that there must be a dollar allocation to this.
He is here, Councilman.
Okay. Hi, Peter. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So the city would actually be receiving money for this at a rate of $1,500 per month, or 25% of the profits of the vending machines, whichever is greater.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thank you so much. Sorry to bring you in for such a brief answer, but I appreciate it.
That's why I'm here.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. That takes us to invoices. Need a motion to approve the invoices.
So moved. Second.
Second, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. We now need a motion to approve the P cards.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation on approval of the P cards. That takes us to Public Safety Services Committee, which is chaired by Councilman Kraus. We have one supplemental paper, Bill 815.
Bill 815, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of public safety to enter into an agreement or agreements with the Federal Emergency Management Agency for the purpose of receiving and spending grant funds in the amount of $280,000 with a local match of $28,000 for the purchase of fire attack packages, hoses, and nozzles to replace all of the frontline attack packages for the Pittsburgh Bureau of Fire.
Motion to approve, very brief discussion, please.
Second.
Councilman Kraus?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just the bill is self-explanatory. We are receiving grant funds from the Federal Emergency Management Agency to purchase fire hoses and nozzles for the Bureau of Fire. Our local match is $28,000, and appreciate members' support. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. That takes us to Public Works Committee, which is chaired by Councilman Coghill. One deferred paper, Bill 476.
Bill 476, resolution granting a vacation of an unopened portion of Bryant Street laid out in the Morningside Manor Plan of Lots as recorded in PBV 31, page 2 in the 11th Ward, 7th Council District.
A motion for a brief discussion, please.
Second.
I'll defer to Councilwoman Gross as her district.
Thank you. Council members, we've been holding this bill while I was working through some changes with Domi and the property owners. And I'm going to do a verbal amendment today, when I worked on with our solicitor, Dan Friedson, but we may have technical amendments by Tuesday. I just wanted to kind of give us a deadline and move it along. So I have some scribbles, Madam Clerk, that I will hand out since I don't really have it as a amendment by substitution. But again, just keeping in mind that we're going to double check our work before Tuesday. Starting with the first whereas statement, we're going to strike out all of the and replace it with the word "an." So it reads "an abutting property owner." We'll strike out the S. I actually kind of have this here, so I'll be able to hand it to you, Madam Clerk. And then we jump to section 1. And we're going to strike out the, in the middle of the paragraph where it says East 10.05 and replace the 10.05 with 125.14. And then we're going to strike out everything after that, starting at 10.05 to a point and ending with East 125.36. So what this does is keep the vacation to the property owner who filed the petition, who's on the northern side of this right-of-way. And then again, we'll get it in writing to members, and we'll get it in writing, and we'll probably have more technical amendments. And we're also going to strike out the entire section 2 and the entire section 3. So I apologize for doing this verbal amendment. As you saw, I had to step away from the table to kind of get this in front of me, so I don't have it. And the reason that we kind of went through the extra trouble is, even though we have technically done this in the past, I think it's ill-advised after kind of circling the wagons. The city did put in a water and sewer line under half of this 50-foot right-of-way, and they have not been replaced yet. And there have been quite a few water problems in this neighborhood, including landslides that have displaced families for up to 2 years, and just a whole host of problems. So we feel more comfortable just vacating the portion of the right-of-way that does not have the infrastructure under it. And so that's the amendment. I'll need a second.
The amendment.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The bill has been amended. Any further discussion on the bill as amended? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. That takes us to our new paper, Bill 790.
Bill 790, resolution providing for a supplemental agreement or agreements with the Larson Design Group, Inc. for costs associated with the West Ohio Street and Ridge Avenue Bridges project, providing for the payment of the cost thereof not to exceed $832,132.94, an increase of $7,020.04 from the previously executed agreement 529-53-1 as previously authorized by Resolution 925 of 2021.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. That moves us to Human Resources Committee, chaired by Councilwoman Strasburger. One new paper, Bill 797.
Bill 797, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Human Resources and Civil Service to enter into a professional services agreement and/or contract with NeoGov for the continual maintenance of software for HR workforce management, applicant tracking, and civil service testing, and providing for the payment of the cost thereof, cost not to exceed $36,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. That takes us to Land Use and Economic Development Committee, chaired by Councilman Wilson. One deferred paper, Bill 661.
Bill 661, resolution accepting a new street name, Woodring Court, in the 23rd Ward of the City of Pittsburgh as per recommendation by the City of Pittsburgh Addressing Committee. The following street name was approved by CPAC in June of 2022. The name listed in this ordinance shall be made official in accordance with the Pittsburgh Code Title 4, Public Places and Property, Chapter 420, Uniform Street Naming and Addressing.
Motion to hold 2 weeks.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Bill will be held 2 weeks. That moves us to our new papers, Bill 799.
Bill 799, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of City Planning to enter into mini-grant reimbursement agreements for the 2022 Love Your Block program at a cost not to exceed $20,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Bill 800.
Bill number 800, ordinance accepting a new street name, Herzog Way, in the 27th Ward of the City of Pittsburgh, as per recommendation by the City of Pittsburgh Addressing Committee. The following street name was approved by CPAC in September 2022. The name listed in this ordinance shall be made official in accordance with the Pittsburgh Code Title 4, Public Places and Property, Chapter 420, Uniform Street Naming and Addressing.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Affirmative recommendation. That moves us to Innovation, Performance, and Asset Management Committee, chaired by Councilwoman Strasburger. One new paper, Bill 798.
Bill 798, resolution amending Resolution 541 of 2021, authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Innovation and Performance on behalf of the City of Pittsburgh to enter into an agreement or agreements with Monday.com, an online project management and portfolio management tool for use with multiple city departments by increasing the not-to-exceed amount to $106,000.
Motion to approve. Brief discussion.
Second.
I have no reason to offer discussion here except to make council members aware that Monday.com is a great tool that is available for council members and their staff. So we are paying for it as a city. I think it's a great tool for a lot of different departments and to be able to coordinate with multiple departments on your projects, and it's available to all council staff as well.
Thank you, Councilwoman Gross.
I was just writing down a question to ask my chief of staff if we'd had a training on it yet. So I'm also eager to give it a try. Thank you.
We had.
We should have a training. Let's ask IP. Thank you.
I'm happy to work with the clerk and others and council members to arrange that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. That takes us to Intergovernmental Affairs Committee, chaired by Councilwoman Gross. Our first new paper is Bill 792.
Bill 792, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of the Urban Redevelopment Authority in the amount of $350,212.91 for an extension of our previous land care contract.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion? Seeing discussion, Councilman Coghill?
I'm just curious as to what it is.
Every year, we transfer money so that we can take care of some of our properties, and so that's what this one is. And sometimes we have a debate about whether it should be more money, and how well we're doing, and kind of where we've gotten complaints, but I haven't heard any feedback this year yet.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Bill 793.
Bill 793, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Works to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Allegheny County with respect to the winter seasons 2022-2023 through the 2023-24 and 2024-25, November 1st to March 31st of each year, under which the city will store, handle, and load salt for the county, and B, the county will store, handle, and load salt for the city, and 2A, the city will perform snow and ice clearance together with the application of anti-skid and de-icing materials for certain county roads, including bridges with their approaches, and the county will perform snow and ice clearance together with the application of anti-skid and/or de-icing materials for certain city roads, including bridges with their approaches.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion? Discussion, Councilman Coghill?
Yes. Do we have somebody from Public Works?
Director Hornstein, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Hello, Director.
I'm here, sir.
Just a few things I just wanted to go over.
Turn your mic on, Councilman.
Sorry about that. Okay, so Director, just for clarification, and you know, my concerns are we doing work for the county? I know we're getting paid for it. Is that correct?
Yes, it's a cost. This is a mobility agreement, cost share. So yes.
So my concern always was with the past, since I've been here really, the winters I've gone through, was the time that it takes us to clear, say, Route 51. I know that we take care of that road, at least from, you know, a certain portion of it. And I know we're covered financially for it. And I know that, you know, it takes extra time, of course, to plow that road. Now, the thought process is this, right? We're being compensated. At the same time, we're using that road to get into our neighborhoods anyway. So it really does not take a whole lot of time on our effort. And is it worth the cost that we're being compensated for?
Yes, so that is, that specific road, Councilman, is governed by the, you know, a similar agreement that we have with PennDOT. So this is specific to, you know, where we share services on county routes, and, you know, city routes where it's more strategic for each of us to, you know, take certain portions.
Right.
So the situation with 51 is a, that's governed under the PennDOT agreement.
Right. And in your opinion, I mean, this does not take time away from our public works in the field, or a significant amount of time. And the other question is this. I know we do some things for the county as well. Are they under contract with us? Is there a financial agreement for that as well?
It's a mobility agreement. So, you know, we balance it out in the work. You know, there's no exchange of funds, but it's a balance of work. So they store salt for us. You know, we will store salt on their behalf. We plow some of their streets that are their responsibility, and they plow like an equivalency on theirs.
So in your opinion, is it a wash as far as like what we cover for the county and what they cover for us?
Yes, in my opinion, it's a wash, and I would also say that, like, you know, the streets that we plow for the county, and vice versa, it makes more sense because of kind of the nature of that road infrastructure, that we take that on the same way for the county. You know, it makes more sense for the county to take on, you know, certain aspects of the road that, you know, normally the city would be responsible for. So it's a benefit for both agencies, because it's ultimately, it makes us a little bit more flexible, and it will save us all time.
Yeah, and you may or may not have this figure, but what is the compensation? What do they pay us for covering what we cover?
The county?
No,
Again,
the state.
in the county agreement,
PennDOT.
there is no exchange of funds. And on the PennDOT agreement, I don't have that figure off the top of my head. But certainly I can gather that for you and get you a response to that.
Yeah, so the only financial agreement is between the city of Pittsburgh and PennDOT to clear certain stretches of road.
That's correct.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Strasburger.
Thank you. Thanks, Director Hornstein, for being here. I was wondering if this agreement, understanding that many of the county roads are in the city are bridges, does this get into the clearance of snow and ice from sidewalks of these bridges, and city bridges versus county bridges, and who's doing what? Does it get into those details?
Yes, I believe so, although I don't have the particulars on that.
I'd be curious to follow up on that. I know that's something that comes up often each year, and I think most people assume that all bridges within the city are city, so we get those questions, and oftentimes they're county, so I'd be curious to know.
Absolutely. Happy to follow up with you.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilwoman Gross?
I'm going to have to follow up on that because that was an excellent question. Director Hornstein, I'm curious about the 40th Street Bridge. And even if we can't answer right now, we should follow up on that. That is one of the recurring bridges where we've had discussions about who services what portion, especially on the sidewalks for both snow clearing and garbage pickup. I know citizens who are volunteer their time to clear the sidewalks on the 40th Street Bridge. And so it would be great to see if any of that is memorialized in this agreement so that we have a really clear answer and we know who's doing what. So
absolutely.
I appreciate
I'm
that.
happy to follow up on that.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much.
Thank you, Madam President.
Yeah, I just, on the same line of the collaboration with the county, they do an amazing job in, pretty good job, I should say, in East Carnegie, because they clear all of East Carnegie of their snow, not just one road, they do all of East Carnegie. But we have so many roads in our district that border other boroughs, so we have a lot of collaboration with the county. But one of the things I didn't realize is that we've been doing more around tree services in the county, and even noticing that our Christmas tree didn't come from the city of Pittsburgh. So I'm just kind of curious why we're taking, a tree that size outside of the city when there's so many in the city people are asking for to be cut down. I think council would just like to know more of what other collaborations are happening with the county that we're unaware of, and what the cost is to the city or the benefit. So if you could just get that for us over the next week, then I'll abstain today. Thank you.
Okay. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do know last year's tree came from the Hill District. Councilman
I know.
Coghill?
One came from my district, one year. She does an amazing job.
The former director, Mike Gable, Director Hornstein, had told me at one point that the city and the county had reserve salt stored somewhere in the city. I want to say it was in Councilman O'Connor's district, but do you know of that? Do we have a salt reserve that we can go to in a facility? Sorry. Did you hear me?
I'm sorry, your mic was off. You could repeat.
I know. Okay, so former director Mike Gable, at one point before he left, had told me that there was a shared facility that we were storing salt for emergency situations, I guess, just kind of a reserve. And there was a facility, I want to say somewhere in Councilman O'Connor's district, of salt, the blue salt. I can't remember. Was it chloride? I can't remember the technical name of it. But do you know of that? Is there still a salt storage facility that we share with the county for reserves?
Yes, we store, and that is governing this agreement. We do store, some of our bulk salt in an emergency location with the county, which we can, load or have the county load for us as the situation dictates. But yes, we do store several thousand tons in the county salt storage facility under this agreement.
Well, it's good to hear that, we have such a good agreement or cooperation with the county. The other thing was, I know there's two different types of salt. The regular rock salt, we'll say, I think it is ineffective at 15 degrees or less. Now, the blue salt, I'll just call it, if you know the technical name, please, advise us. But the blue...
Coated with magnesium chloride.
I'm sorry?
It's coated with magnesium chloride.
There you go. Codium with magnesium chloride. And from what I understand, that goes down to like minus 15 degrees. Are we just using the magnesium chloride, or are we using both, types of salt?
We have both types of salt. The magnesium chloride is, we use that exclusively on streets. We use the other, plain rock salt. We will use that on, as part of snow removal, sidewalk steps, the bridges where we perform that service, and we're, shoveling, clearing, snow blowing, as kind of what we call our hand treatment. That's where we will use the regular salt.
Gotcha. And the storage site that we have the reserve salt at, is it both types, or is it just the chloride, or is it just...
I will have to follow up on that detail.
Gotcha.
Last I knew it was the basic rock salt type. But again, I can follow up on that detail and get you confirmation on that.
Right. And that salt that we have stored at that facility, is that, so the city and the county obviously combined together to whatever that cost was, is that right?
Well, no, we purchased the salt, we have it delivered there to fill up that stockpile. We pull it out as needed. And the county, controls it for us.
So we purchase the salt, but we keep it at their facility? Is that the agreement?
That's the agreement, correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Bill 794.
Bill 794, resolution adopting plan revision to the City of Pittsburgh's official sewage facilities plan for 451 Melwood Avenue.
Motion to approve discussion?
Second.
I just wanted, sorry, I was off camera. I wanted to see if you had any discussion. I didn't talk to you about this. I think it's in Councilman Lavelle's district.
No, I don't.
Okay, I'm supportive.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Bill 795.
Bill 795, resolution requesting the approval of an intermunicipal transfer of a restaurant liquor license from White Hawks Social Club to applicant The Village Social Club Plus Incorporated, care of Karen Mitchell, for the premises located at 48 Greenway Drive, known as The Village Social Club Plus, pursuant to amended Pennsylvania Liquor Code.
Motion to hold for cablecast public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Bill will be held for a cablecast public hearing. That exhausts our agenda. We do have a couple of meeting announcements. This afternoon at 1:30, council will hold a cablecast public hearing on Bill 782 as it relates to the renewal of the Oakland Business Improvement District. Speaker registration closes at 12 noon today. Next week, council will hold our regular and standing committee meetings on Tuesday, October 18th and Wednesday, October 19th at 10 a.m. respectively. Speaker registration closes at 9 a.m. October 18th for the regular meeting and 9 a.m. October 19th for the standing committee meeting. To register to speak at these meetings, please fill out the sign-up form on the council meeting webpage by the deadline. You may also call the city clerk's office at 412-255-2138. Is there anything from members, Madam President?
Thank you. Just briefly, I just want to first say what a great job Lisa Chaffee does with the tree service. I should have mentioned that in my comments. She does an amazing job, but I think we're asking her to do too much with too little, and including going into the county. But I really want to address, I keep hearing comments about the council's budget, and we just had a reporter ask me about how our budget has grown, and it has grown in some ways. But it's not as I think when you know what's going on, and I think that first of all we replaced three people in our budget office: a budget director, an assistant director, and Kate, who did our purchasing. And she's being used for multiple things now that Kate was not. So she has different skill sets that she's bringing to the table. So I want to say that we've changed that, but it wasn't an addition. It was hiring people that left. Then we hired the community engagement office, and that was people from the mayor's office had the community affairs office, so we moved that office over to ours. It wasn't an increase in the budget. It was moving them over. And then we hired our solicitor, which was an increase, but also saves us money in many ways because he's helping us to avoid lawsuits and making sure we're wording things correctly and legislation correctly and paying for his haircuts that he gets every week. So but I just want to say that, I just want to say, and then the grants, I think that came over. And, people are obviously given, media stories. And the sad part is they give a little bit and they don't tell the whole story behind it all because they like the sensation themselves. But I will say that the grants that we moved over for the athletic associations, actually one spurred a phone call from another foundation I'm meeting with tomorrow that's going to add possibly between $90,000 and $100,000 to that grant. So it's also bringing more money in. But also that money we were asked to bring that over to our side, and I think partly is because we have such a tremendous budget office with extremely knowledgeable, extremely talented people that usually actually worked over the administrative side, came over to our side, so they not only have a knowledge of how to do this, some of them created the process for doing this. So we're moving some of this over to our side of the hall. And so that looks like we're having walking around money or whatever it is, but they created a process and we're still working on it to make sure that we have a better way to distribute the funds. But it's no different than our CDBG funds where we have a total say over it, and no different than us with the entire budget, which we have a say over. And 9 members voted for those grants when they were under Peduto's administration. With the only thing different is that we moved them over to our side. But our side is still working on a process where everybody feels comfortable. But there's also talk about asking us to bring the NED funding over. So I want to work with the administration and bring the funding over, but if every time we do something like that, someone's going to say council's doing this or council's doing that, or try to misinterpret what council's doing, then, I'm not going to be, I won't be doing it. I won't be supportive of that. But I'm also going to say that I think that it's hurting the city too, because these things, we have to get this funding out, and there's no reason we shouldn't have some of the things that we did move over. There was a long time where council didn't take their pay raises. During Act 47, they turned down, it was a lot of money over the years for pay raises. There were times they worked with minimal staff. We have some of the most amazing staff members and on our entire floor with talent that I can't even imagine that, and they're coming here to work here for a lot less, and they're grateful for their jobs, and they do so much for the city of Pittsburgh and working with our residents that I think that we want to make sure that they're valued and paid well as best as we can, but that we're also accommodating some of their schedules. We have amazing, everyone has really amazing staff. So I just want to say, and they're working, but they're working on a shoestring. They're working just, one or two members, three members, sometimes in an office for huge areas, and we're much more accessible to the public than we ever were before. Between social media, Twitter, Facebook, out in the community meetings, they are as accessible as we are, and doing a lot. And so I think that we want them to feel valued too. And so I just want to say that. So if you're seeing the budget go up, it's because we waited our turn, and we are the ones that serve the people. We are the ones that are on the streets. We are the ones that get the phone calls. So if we're responding to something, including the somebody mentioned that we hired somebody with mental health. To work on mental health issues. I'm sorry, but there's a lot of mental health issues that are going unaddressed, and not because City Council failed to address them, but because people who have the funding to do it have not addressed them in our city. So we have to do something to help our residents. So I feel like very justified in everything that we've done, and we've done it in the public eye, and so that's the part I want to mention. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Councilman Coghill.
Thank you. So I just want to comment on a couple of things you said. First of all, that money that you transfer to our city council offices, of course it's transparent. Of course, it has to be council approved. Nothing's really changed on that part. What has changed is the freedom for us to identify what needs there are. And I believe the council people know better than anybody whether it's an athletic association, you name it, where that money should go. It's one of my favorite things you've done. And when you do good things happen. I don't want to mention the company that you're talking to, but to hear that if you hadn't put that legislation out there, this company would have no interest, would have no idea. But here they are wanting to contribute to this fund as well. So I absolutely fully support it. I think it's going to go a long way. I have 3 appointments in my district at different athletic associations, at different ball fields, to go over their needs. And I don't think I would have made those appointments without knowing I'm going to have readily access funds for them to, I hope, take care of whatever their problems are. So I thank you for that. I think it was wonderful. And maybe others will pile on, even, besides the person or the company that you're working with now. As far as our hires go, Mr. Friedson's been very valuable, I feel, to us. And, everything comes with a learning curve. I'm finding that as I go on, I'm tapping into, everybody, all of our new hires. And I think they're very valuable, and they take a lot of pressure off us where they could help us, whether it's research, come to a community meeting, you name it. So under your leadership, I'm very happy. I'm very happy with these current changes. So thank you again.
Thank you, Madam President.
Yeah, I just want to add, when you mentioned about the ball fields, we're having an issue now where the little dynamos feel like they are, battling for a field. And that's some of the things I think that we need to be worrying about. As I would love to be, live in a world where we didn't have to worry about the social services. I mentioned that during the previous meeting, is that, we are doing those things because somebody's, not doing them on a different level. So I would love to make sure that we're putting money in to get ball fields for people across the city of Pittsburgh. So every neighborhood has a great ball field. And I think with these kinds of partnerships, those are the things that foundations should be helping us with. Things that are social services, things that are not our daily functions. But we need to get back to what you ran on, back to basics and doing the things that we're supposed to be doing. I'm not saying that I'm comfortable with some of the things we're doing with funding, but I think we're working together to make sure that we're getting to a place where everybody's comfortable with everything we're doing. But we're trying to deliver services to our residents who are crying out for help every day in so many different ways. And I think this council has been so caring. They're such a compassionate council. I mean, really. So I think you're all doing the best you can. We're all doing the best we can. But it'd be nice if people had conversations with us instead of playing games. But okay, thank you.
Anything else from members? If not, motion to excuse the absent member, approve the minutes, and adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
We are adjourned.
Bye.